Welcome to Move to Six. I'm Bucky Brooks, and today it's a solo mission. Me and my guy, Baldy's Breakdowns. Brian Baldinger joining me to break down all the action from the weekend. And Baldy, we got to start where I was at. Denver Broncos, Jacksonville Jaguars. You've been on record going to Jacksonville, being very impressed with the coaching staff and those things. Just overview on what you saw when you popped in the tape.
Well, it was a rocky start, Bucky. A rocky start. I mean, this was obviously they've got a great defensive front. They were all over Trevor to start from the very first play of the game. I mean, they hit him. They sacked him. They hit him early. That first quarter was a little rough, but then I really thought they lost Mackay. They lost the right guard. Early in that game, Walker Little went in there, but I thought a 3rd and 10 scramble and that throw to Parker really kind of opened things up for it. They eventually got some kind of a rhythm to the offense, and I thought that was a big part of kind of success. But it was a tough start. Let me just say that. Just watching it, Bucky.
Yeah, look, tough start. Like Baldy coming in. My biggest question going in was not only the pass rush that the Denver Broncos, obviously they're on pace for 70 sacks, and they had a bunch of sacks on Sunday, but will the Jaguars be able to win on the outside? Because the thing that makes the Broncos so difficult is not only the pass rush, because Vance is going to bring pressure from everywhere, but they're so sticky on the outside. They're going to match pass or 10 on your number one, and they're going to dare you to win with the 2s and 3s. And everyone likes to pick on Riley Moss, but he's been really, really good in terms of he may give up penalties, but he does a good job in coverage. And Baldy, the first quarter, the first half, Brian Thomas Jr. was null and void with pass or 10. But Riley Moss and all the other guys, McClain and they had so many McMillan. They had so many guys locking up. It was tough sledding for the Jaguars. Talk about the challenge of dealing with the Broncos secondary, and then what you saw from Liam Cohen and those guys making adjustments.
Well, they got the ball to Brenton Strange. They got the ball to Parker. They got the ball, to Etienne for the 4th touchdown pass in the last 2 weeks, Bucky. So they found plays. They found, basic flat routes. They hit Parker on 2 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 5s. He turned one into a 60-yard gain, just split Riley Moss and the safety on the outside, and he was able to win. I thought that, Jacoby Myers is a huge addition to this team. Just being able to execute just simple things like toss crack where he's blocking 2 guys, blocking down, blocking the outside defensive end, and then going up to Hufanga and getting that done. I thought the receivers, between Parker and Jacoby, a lot of tough catches, and Brenton Strange, a lot of tough catches. But I thought as hard as, you remember that the hit by P.J. Locke on, it was kind of a free shot, and you just see Trevor just getting bent backwards on a blindsided hit where he'd already relaxed and thought, okay, here comes the flag. And you just see the toughness of Trevor. And the toughness of Trevor, I thought, Bucky, really from that hit through the first quarter, in that noise, in that atmosphere, to see him just sort of survive in that first quarter, to be able to get into a rhythm, I thought that was really, really key, because they couldn't really run the ball very well. It's a really good front. So it was really up to Trevor to just be able to go through his progressions and get the ball out of his hands quickly and accurately. For some, I think he threw for almost 300 yards, but he really had to earn it in those throws, I thought.
Baldy, so much is now going to be made of Trevor Lawrence, and you've dug in because the last couple of weeks we've had conversations about the Jags, but I'll tell you this, since the Arizona Cardinal game when he threw 4 interceptions, from that moment on, even in that game, he's been a different guy. Liam Cohen and Trevor had a one-on-one conversation where he encouraged him to just let it rip, to let it go, to play freely. Don't worry about the mistakes. Be aggressive, not reckless, but just go. And from that point on, he has been everything that anyone could envision the number 1 overall pick being. You had a chance to see him in training camp when he was kind of still trying to figure it out. On tape, what do you see when you look at number 16?
Well, to your point, Bucky, from that Arizona game, he's thrown 12 touchdowns, no interceptions the last 4 weeks. Now, they've won 6 in a row, so they're a hot team. And to go into Denver and beat a team that's won 11 in a row, he's the captain of the ship. But I I feel like Liam does a great job of empowering, and I think most coordinators try to do this. Okay, this is your offense. This is what you see, you do. But I think he puts them in really good positions to be successful. I mean, even the touchdown to Parker to get him on the board. I mean, Jaquan McMillan's all over him, but he gives him a chance to make the catch. You know, Jaquan's playing blind. He's an excellent. It's a slot fade. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, 3 receivers set, slot fade out there. But I just felt like Trevor's giving the receivers a chance to go make a play. And I think to your point, you can being out there in training camp and watching it work. And you've been around Liam a lot, but if people haven't been around him, the command that he has, he's about as close to McVay as we've seen. Just his command of the offense, how he commands the team, because it's way more than just the offense. How he commands the team, even the little subtle thing, Bucky, that everybody's playing up right now, that you're just a small market team. You know what I mean? It's subtle. You still got to go play. You still got to go execute. But just his ability to take a little soundbite like that and to make it pretty big, especially after the victory, you see that he hears everything. He sees everything, and then he knows how to kind of just like get it on the rails for his whole team to play.
Yeah, no, he definitely does that. He has them playing at a different level, playing edgy and those things. But I'm going to say this about the Broncos. I think this may be the best thing to ever happen. I think the weight of having an extended winning streak going into the playoffs can be difficult. I think sometimes, whether it's a loss or whatever, you kind of need that moment to reset. And a lot of times you have the players' attention best when they lose. I'm going to say this. Bo Nix is even better than I ever could imagine. Like watching him first at Auburn, then at Oregon, and it speaks to the maturity that he has. It also speaks to what a coach can do to slowly build a player up, because I know they lost and he had 2 turnovers and those things. But Baldy, my eyes told me that this is a really good Broncos team. And he is going to be a really, really good quarterback in this league for a long time.
Well, to your initial point, Bucky, about this is not a bad loss. Nobody wants to lose. But this, at the time of the year right here, at home, and they got a short week coming up, Alex Singleton said it. We've won 11 in a row. We've got 12 wins. This isn't the end of the world. Like, that's a veteran player that's led that team in tackles a number of years. And he's speaking up with a smile on his face, going, look, we played it. We hit that quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. We sacked him 7 times. We hit him 14 times. We did some good things. This is far from over for us. And so I think the reset button on a short week is probably not a bad thing. We've seen good teams lose late in the season, and it's probably the best thing that could happen to them.
Yeah, best thing. Last thing before we get off this game, R.J. Harvey is a huge problem for defenses. Man, this dude is really good running between the tackles with Baldy out in space. You can see the eventual evolution of this offense where they have Cortland Sutton, they have Marvin Mims, but R.J. Harvey is exactly what Sean Payton has always had, and that is that X factor out of the backfield that can create problems. He is not quite Alvin Kamara, but you can see him playing that Alvin Kamara, Darren Sproles role that Sean Payton has always had someone play out of the backfield.
Well, I mean, look, it took an unfortunate injury to J.K. Dobbins, to get him into that role. I think that Jaleel is still going to get his carries because he's still slippery and he's still got excellent vision of seeing cracks. But he's always had a committee at running back. He's always been able to rotate in certain situations. But RJ, it's a great rookie class of running backs across the league. And RJ is one of those guys that going forward, he's going to be a big part of their postseason plans.
Yeah, speaking of postseason, I guess we should make postseason plans for the Pittsburgh Steelers because somehow, some way, no matter what, I am telling you, man, Mike Tomlin is that figure in horror movies that you just can't kill. Yes. Somehow, the Steelers are sitting here with 9 wins. They get a big win on the road. I'm going to be honest with you, Baldy. I didn't think they could go in Detroit and knock them off. You were there. Tell me how they got it done.
Well, it's a 10-3 game, and the Steelers weren't able to do anything on offense. And then with 20 seconds to go in a half, Aaron Rodgers was looking really just to get him into field goal range to maybe kick a field goal because their field goal kicker was making them from 60 yards Boswell's making from 60 plus in pregame. So I think they were looking to get in the field goal range, and he didn't like his check down. He just cut it loose. They had 1-on-1 on the outside, between the running back, Kenneth Gainwell, and Alex Anzalone. And the first thing you see is interference on Anzalone, and the flag comes out, but the play's not over. And then the next thing you see is just maybe the catch of the year by Gainwell, where he's on the ground and he somehow traps the ball on his forearm and then has the awareness, Bucky, to squeeze it right there. And then on top of that, to know that Anzalone has rolled off him and hasn't touched him, to get up and go score. And nobody's really sure what's happened. Even Aaron doesn't even know at that point what happened. And so they get a 45-yard touchdown on a Hail Mary throw. And we were reminded by a lot of people in that building that it was a 10-year anniversary of Aaron Rodgers throwing a Hail Mary to Richard Rodgers to win the game 10 years ago in Detroit. Wow. And so it wasn't that throw, but it was like this Gainwell could easily, if it's not for Aaron, could easily be the MVP of the offense for the Steelers. But what was really odd, Buck, was they scored 3 touchdowns in the game, and all of them were from 45 yards away. Gainwell was 45 yards, and then Jaylen Warren on back-to-back series went off left tackle, 45 yards on a toss crack and 45 yards off a weak side slant, 45 yards for a touchdown. So all 3 touchdowns were from 45 yards away. And so if you're looking for, that voodoo thing, like you can't defeat that, whatever that is, they had that going on. Now, a couple of things. One, they have started Dylan Cook, this kid out of Montana, Bucky, 2 weeks in a row. He gave up a sack on kind of a late sack to Hutch. And other than that, he pitched another shutout out there. They've been trying to firm up the left tackle spot since, I don't know, Max Starks, forever. Yeah. They've been drafting guys, Broderick Jones, whatever. He looks like he's the guy. He's always on his feet, Bucky. He's never on the ground. He's good in the run game. All he does is dance in front of his guy to protect the blind side of Aaron Rodgers. And for 3 weeks in a row, Aaron Rodgers does not turn the ball over. They dink and dunk. They take what you give you. They get they find some explosive plays. It doesn't look pretty. You think to yourself, can they win a game in the postseason if they get to the postseason? And you think, okay, they play without TJ. They play without Nick Herbig. That's the number 1 offense in football. And you hold them, like they did, to really 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns by Jared Goff. But other than that, they really squeezed them pretty good. They've got a great special teams. I don't know, like the team looks dangerous to me.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about their defense because the last time many people tuned in, they looked terrible on defense, giving up big plays all over the place. They hadn't done it. What have they done the last couple of weeks to kind of fix the issue? Because they're certainly not leaking like they were leaking as recent as a month ago.
Well, the leakage came in that loss to Buffalo where they ran for 250 yards at home.
Yeah.
And since then, they went on the road to Baltimore. They won. Then they beat Miami on Monday night and then this game. So they won 3 in a row since that shellacking by Buffalo where they just had the ball run down their throats. Yesterday, they squeezed Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and they didn't get anything, Buck. Now, Detroit had a center making his first start. The first 2 centers were out. He struggled mightily. They put a nose tackle on him all game, and he couldn't handle Keanu Benton or Cam Hayward. They had a backup left guard in there for most of the day. Like they were shorthanded up front, and Jared Goff kind of struggled, and the run game struggled, I thought, up until those last 2 drives where they just dropped back and threw it, and they got, pretty fortunate. And of course, it came down to, this final play, Bucky. I mean, it's like a lot of these games that we're going to talk about all week came down to the final play. And you could call Amon-Ra St. Brown's, pass interference against Jalen Ramsey, and it was, and they threw 2 flags came out. But the way the play finished and the way that, Goff took you can't script this stuff that's happening at the end of these games right now.
Yeah, the lateral, Amon-Ra St. Brown finds Jared Goff, flips it to him. Jared Goff goes into the end zone. It looked like there was pure chaos in the building because the referee signaled touchdown and said touchdown. Oh, by the way, there's offensive pass interference. And then kind of dropped the mic. And so no one knows what's going on. One of the crazier endings I've ever seen.
No, there's no doubt. And I mean, it came down to the final 20 seconds of the game, and we didn't Detroit thinks they've scored, and the Carl Cheffers was the referee, Bucky, and it took 3 minutes, 4 minutes before they could get the ruling right, because he initially came out and said touchdown by the Lions, which it was, except it was nullified by the pass interference by Amon. So it was very confusing to hear, the final, wording of that. They got it right, but it didn't exactly come out right. Couple things also about this Steelers offense. They picked up Adam Thielen from he's bounced from Carolina to Minnesota. Now he's in Pittsburgh. And I saw him before the game a little bit. He had 4 catches in the game, but a lot of them were on third downs. And you kind of get the feeling Aaron just needs a trusted veteran, on third downs to go win a route. And he'll get you the ball. He'll flick it. He'll have an accurate throw. But a guy that he can really, really put his trust into. And so we don't know what's going to happen to DK Metcalf. That's another story, Bucky. I guess we get into whatever DK did to a fan, on the side out there. I haven't heard anything yet today. I haven't really been paying attention. But they might play without DK for a game or two. We'll see what happens. But Thielen's a guy that I think they can count on to step up right now, in addition to both backs, Warren and Gainwell, are guys that they really trust.
It's funny because in looking at the box score and seeing the way the ball was distributed, you can see Aaron going to his full dink and dunk mode, working inside out, running backs, slot receivers, tight ends, and then finding a couple plays on the outside. Look, that can be very, very challenging for teams in the postseason, just because when the pressure gets tight, he is so good in those moments and trying to find the right one. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Then going from Aaron to his former team, man, I'm at dinner trying to watch the Chicago-Green Bay game. It seems like it's in the bag for the Green Bay Packers. And then all of a sudden, have a little dessert ball and it's over.
Well, it's at one point, Buck, it's 16-6, okay? And Chicago goes down, and they kick a field goal to make it 16-9. And then with 2 minutes to go, they go onside kick. And, Romeo Doubs is on the hands team, like all receivers and tight ends.
Yeah.
And he takes his eyes off the ball. They're split 5-5. So 5 guys on one side, 5 on the other. And the ball gets kicked by Cairo Santos. He gets a little bit of a bounce, and Romeo takes his eyes off it for one brief second. It bounces off his chest, and there's Boswell. I'm trying to think of – anyways, it gets recovered by Chicago. And then next thing you know, I didn't know Ja'Day Walker. I didn't know who he was, Bucky. He catches you got a 2x2 set down there, inside the 20. And Green Bay blows the coverage, Bucky. They flat out blow the coverage, and they leave, Walker all alone in the end zone for the touchdown to tie it up. And so there you go. And then you got to remember the new overtime rules. Here comes, Green Bay right down the field, and they score in overtime. It was absolutely unbelievable the way that thing, the way that it played out to get into overtime like that.
And the poor Green Bay Packers, and I know every team is dealing with injuries, but man, you talk about being snake bit by the injury bug in key moments. Jordan Love goes out when he's playing fairly well. Malik Willis has to come in and kind of finish the deal out. They've lost their pass rusher. They lost Tucker Kraft. They've lost so many guys along the way that, look, they're a punchless team. But even in saying that, I got to give the Bears a lot of credit, because this is a new iteration of the Bears under Ben Johnson. They're a tough team. They play to the end. He has found a way to generate offense in different ways to make sure that they are able to put points on the board. I can't stop raving about Ben Johnson and the job that he did, because I'm be honest, I was a little skeptical. The setup was so great for him in Detroit. I wondered if he could replicate it elsewhere, but he certainly has taken that blueprint and put it together in the Windy City.
He is he's an amazing coach. And some of the things he does, Bucky, like everybody runs speedo routes, but he will do things like just change the speed of one of the receivers, or make it look like the receiver's going to block the free safety to kind of like just get some kind of interference, and there's DJ Moore in the middle of the field. Like just the subtle little things he does to break the pattern that everybody defends in this league is a specialty of his. The way that, for example, he probably more than anybody else on 3rd and 3+, he runs the ball. He ran it with Kyle Monangai on 3rd and 3. They picked up 12, but most teams 3rd and 3, Buck, they're in passing situation.
Yep.
They just don't trust, especially against Packers, who've got a good defensive front, good against the run. But Monangai goes and picks it up. The use of, like, the entire league right now is in 13 personnel. They get into 13 personnel with Durham Smythe, along with, Loveland and 85. Like, they're able to do that as well as anybody right now. And then, the touchdown throw to win the game by Caleb, probably the best throw he has made, to the biggest throw that he has made to win that game on that night, on a Saturday night there, to win the game to DJ Moore with Keyshawn Nixon all over. It can't cover any better, Buck. And the throw and the catch by DJ, I don't know if DJ even knew just how big, like, he's just doing a snow angel in the end zone, laying on his back going, I don't know how he actually controlled the ball into the end zone right there to win that game.
Yeah, it was an amazing throw. And it's the thing that really should excite Bears fans from Caleb Williams, because we all can see the improvement, even though it's not consistently reflected in the stat line. He is a different player than he was his rookie season. He is playing with more discipline and attention to detail and those things. And as he grows or gains more confidence in the system and what will open up for him, you'll see those numbers on the uptick. But I'm going to tell you, it's the running game that is going to be the problem that people have to deal with when they deal with the Bears in the postseason. No
question. And all those moves that they made, from Drew Dahlman, to Tooney, to Jonah, like those three guys, and then to see Darnell Wright come on, to go to Ozzie Trapillo, to left tackle after going through Braxton Jones and going through Benedict, and now deciding on Trapillo. They've had three guys out there from the beginning of the season, and it looks like they've got their guy at left tackle. But their commitment to the run game, Buck, and the way that they do it, I mean, you don't know who's going to be in the backfield sometimes, but it is a true 1-2 punch with DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai. And Monangai might be as difficult to tackle as anybody in this league. Like, his balance, his contact strength is second to none in this league. And then if you have to add on what Caleb can do, whether through scrambles or design runs, like, he's about as hard as any quarterback in this league to get to the ground. So it is a firm commitment. But, they lead the league in takeaways by a wide margin right now, Buck. They're over 30 takeaways so far through 15 games. I don't know if that's going to stop. It could be, just recovering a fumble, between Malik Willis and the center, in a key spot in the game, but they got on it. It's a consistent thing week in, week out that they're taking the ball away.
I'm going to tell you this, man. Like, it's amazing how good Dennis Allen is as a coordinator when he's had his struggles as a coach. But, and this, it's uncommon for a team that plays as much man-to-man as the Bears do to take the ball away the way that they do it. Normally we play man-to-man, you get breakups because eyes are not on the quarterback, so you see it late, your reactions are late. But, man, they are some turnover-obsessed ball hawks that find a way.
Everybody.
I mean, they just get it, because I did a breakdown. I was looking at Noshawn Wright and what he's been able to do. And I think about Al Harris and Al Harris working with him first in Dallas, but then in Chicago, where this dude is a legitimate – he's going to be a big pay corner when he hits free agency in the spring, because people are going to pay for that size and those balls.
Well, it's interesting, Buck, because Jalen Johnson is back, but he's splitting time with Tyreek Stevenson, and Deshaun is staying at the right corner. Like, he Wally pipped everybody. That was Jalen Johnson, and Jalen Johnson's been a Pro Bowl corner in this league. But he's played so well, they're just leaving him be over there.
Yeah, you just can't take him off the field. Let's move to the Sunday night game. The New England Patriots, Baltimore Ravens. Some people in Baltimore saying it's the end of an era, just given what they're going to have to do with free agents and those things. But Mike Vrabel and the Patriots find a way to get it done on the road.
Yeah, they did. And it's interesting. I just start on the offense first. Because they got two tight ends that have traveled this league, Austin Hooper, Hunter Henry, but they got a real home there. Because they run some of the things that they asked Drake May to do are so basic, Buck. I mean, curl flat, against a cover three, divide with a YY formation, 2 tight ends. Like some of these things are just basic completions, but they're drive starters, and they get chunks. And then if you sprinkle in what Diggs did yesterday to Baltimore, like Diggs had a Diggs type, he can still separate the top of his route. And it didn't matter if it was Marlon Humphrey or whether it was Wiggins. Like he's going to still, you give that guy a chance to go win. He's going to win, Buck. Like it's who he is. And when they were down 24-13, he was getting ticked off like we're going to win this game. And he kind of like helped put it in his hands to do it. And it was, the throw at 24-13, Buck, the throw to Kyle Williams, the rookie. I went back and looked, Buck. He's got 7 catches on the year, but 3 are touchdowns. And the 37-yard touchdown from Drayton, first of all, the throw was amazing.
Yeah.
But the coverage is amazing. And Kyle Williams, like the legs went dead, the concentration, the catch to get it to 24-20, that was a huge part of that game.
Yeah, big part of it. And I say this, Mike Vrabel has built this team in the image of the Patriots teams that he played on. They are a team that you look around and you're trying to identify the star outside the quarterback, but they have a bunch of really good players that play their role. They make their plays when their numbers are called upon. You talked about Stephon Diggs, who has some star power. But, man, you talk about a nondescript offense that's able to get it done. Keyshawn Boutte being able to make play. I mean, they just have so many guys that they've thrown together. And Josh McDaniels, I mean, you put him in a Patriots uniform, you put him in that starter jacket, whatever jacket he wears, the play calling is at a different level when he's up in Foxborough.
Well, you think about it, Buck. I mean, there they are, and typical Josh McDaniels offset eye with Jack Westover, as the fullback. And it's 24-21, and here comes Ramondre Stevenson and a little power. And they just opened up, the Ravens defense. And there goes Ramondre out the back door. And, Morgan Moses is over there and Owenyu, and nobody's going to the Pro Bowl on that front. But, you look at what Doug Marrone has done. Obviously, Doug really well. But, Doug's in his role. Like he's probably – if you ask Doug what he really enjoyed always doing, going way back to his coming out of Georgia Tech and coming to the league, he liked coaching the offensive line. And so, you see in these guys improve up front as individually and then as a group, and how they fit in that run to give them the lead in the fourth quarter was an example of it right there.
Yeah, they're good. And what I loved about what they did in the offseason, they would go and get a veteran-laden defense. So now they can jump in and do some things. They play hard. They're feisty. They understand what their roles are. They understand all the adjustments and those things. I can't say enough about what they've done defensively because they just find a way to just muck it up just enough to make it miserable for you.
Well, but to think about K'Lavon Chaisson and what he does at the end of that game, Buck. Like that guy, he's flourishing in this defense opposite Harold Landry. Now, they've had guy Keon White out there. They had different guys. Yeah. They're like, nope, K'Lavon, that's our guy. And, I got to know him a little bit at the Sac Summit this year. Like, coming out of LSU, I know he was kind of highly thought of. Never really found a home.
Never.
In a couple different spots. He is – but, once you find a home and they're counting on you, then the effort, the talent, like for him to double back and to really strip Zay Flowers in that spot, Marcus Jones come up with a fumble to really close that game out. That's a Mike Vrabel type play. That's effort, get to the ball. Good things happen when you get to the ball. Like that's a play. You can see Vrabel putting that play, on a Monday, clicker and going, this is how you win games, guys. This is how you win games. Who's going to do it next week for us? And just playing that play over and over again.
I mean, look, it's something to watch. And now on the other side, I got to say, man, it's probably one of the bigger disappointments of the league to see the Baltimore Ravens on the cusp of being eliminated. This is a team that many of us talked about. They may have the most talented roster in ball. Quarterback has been a 2-time MVP, all this other stuff. Why hasn't it worked in Baltimore, Baldy? I don't understand.
Well, let me just back up what you just said, Buck. I went to the Ravens training camp twice this summer. And both times I came away thinking this is a stacked roster. Like Lamar's coming off what could have easily been an MVP season. Everything that he did. And you're thinking, okay, The coaching staff is able. Zach Orr's in his second year. Kyle Hamilton coming back. It looked stacked. And then, defensively, they had a lot of injuries. They kind of fell apart for a little while, but they regained their footing.
Mm-hmm.
But Lamar just isn't anywhere near what we saw the last 2 years under Monken. Like under Monken, Todd done a great job with him, developing him, getting the explosive plays, the run game, all the things they did out of the run game with him and Derrick Henry and whatever third down back they had. And I don't know why Derrick Henry wasn't on the field in the fourth quarter of that game after running for 100 yards and looking like Derrick Henry. And there's Mike Vrabel just probably salivating, going, man, I had that guy. I know how good he is.
Yeah.
And because that's when he goes to work, Bucky, in the fourth quarter. After he's gotten 20 carries. That's his time. And for them in a close game, for them to go away from Derrick Henry, that part of it is like some coaching going on right there.
Well, not only that, you're playing with a backup quarterback in Stu Hundley. The fact that you don't close it out with Derrick Henry, to me, is crazy. And I'll say this, and I do believe that Monken has done a great job of evolving their offense in a passing game. I feel like their running game, particularly when you have Lamar Jackson and what you could imagine them doing with their old run game schemes with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson alternating, you just would think that it would be explosive and dynamic in those things. But now you're dealing with, like going forward, a 32-year-old running back in Derrick Henry. You're dealing with, let's be honest, an off-injured Lamar Jackson, lower body injuries and those things. What's next for the Ravens? Like, what does the next iteration of the Ravens look like? Because you're now dealing with older quarterback and an older running back.
Well, I mean, how many division titles do they need or MVPs? And then, postseason disappointment. Like, is this an opportunity for Steve Bisciotti to make changes at the very top of this thing? Because they have kept this thing together. They brought in Todd Monken. That seemed like a good missing piece when they made changes at the coordinator spot. But do you want to run this back again? Because Lamar Jackson, by every metric right now, Buck, he's not running anywhere near as fast as he used to run. Now, Now, maybe it is. He just needs an offseason to freshen up and get healthy. And will we see that version of him where he just makes everybody else look, like they're standing still? But there was a point in the last 2 years prior to this year where there was no defense that could stop Lamar Jackson until he got to the postseason. Like, you could try anything you want. You blitz him, okay, good luck. His ability to extend plays, keep his eyes down the field, make explosive throws, accurate throws on the run, whatever it was. Like, he did it all. And that's not the case this season.
Even the play in which he got injured, Baldy, that is a routine play where we've seen Lamar Jackson get slippery, dive, get out of it, or whatever. It's the first time that he looked clunky to me as a player. And we've seen this with, and I'm not saying that, like, I'm a believer in a player of his running style being able to be successful, but we've seen this. He's nearing close to year 10. We're getting up there where it begins to fall off a cliff if it's going to fall off. I just wonder how they can, one, pay him, watch him age gracefully in an offense to still maximize who he is with the pieces around him. Tough offseason for the Baltimore Ravens ahead when it comes to decisions. Tampa Bay, Carolina, the Carolina Panthers. My brother's heart is fluttering because his Carolina Panthers are now at the top of the division. How are they getting it done, man? Because I definitely didn't see this team as a team that was going to go to the postseason.
Well, first of all, defensively, they're very good, Bucky. I mean, Mike Jackson at corner last night or yesterday afternoon had a great day defending Mike Evans in the end zone twice. Like, he's got Mike Evans one-on-one, and it's almost a layup for Baker to Mike Evans at the 1 yard line. They had a goal line stand, early in the game where they missed, he defended Mike Evans in the end zone. They settled for 3. That might have been the difference in the game right there. Ibuka was outside of one catch, was basically invisible. This is a Buccaneer team, offense at least, Bucky, where you got everybody back. You got Evans, you got Godwin, you got Bucky Irving, you got all your guys, Jalen McMillan. And, they couldn't, they couldn't score more than 20 points. So credit what they're doing defensively. Derek Brown had another unbelievable game. But it looks like kind of, and then there was a miscue late in the game between Baker and Mike Evans. And, the rookie Ransom is the beneficiary of Evans going one way and Baker thinking it's going another way. And he gets the interception to end the game right there. And then, Bryce, like him and T-Mac are a good combination. The touchdown to T-Mac in the end zone, like against Jamel Dean, it's a blitz zero. You know that Todd Bowles is going to come after you. They do a decent job of slowing him down. They throw it up there. He gets his touchdown, third downs. He's go-to guy right there. This Jalen Coker keeps coming on, making key catches for him. They're not turning the ball over. Like, they've got their toughest opponent. Like, ask your brother, because I think this is the biggest game with Seattle coming to town this weekend, Buck. Like, this is the biggest game that's going to be played in Charlotte in years. I don't know, like at least the last 5 years, the biggest game that's going to be played with a really good team coming to see them. We're going to find out, are they going to be, if they win the division, and I'm going to be there on Sunday in Charlotte, if they win the division, are they going to be a tough out? Should they get, a playoff game at home there in Charlotte?
Yeah, I'm going to say this. I give Drew Canales a lot of credit. I feel like he's done a good job of being forthright about his struggles as a head coach in terms of learning and evolving, on-the-job training. The job that he's done with Bryce Young after making Bryce Young earn the QB1 spot, like for the last year or so, it's been really, really good. Defensively, you talked about how good they are. Yeah, they're well positioned to do it. I think in anticipation of this matchup with Tampa coming in, I keep looking for Tampa to hit the switch. I just, like, with Todd Bowles and his defense and what they had available and Baker Mayfield coming on the heels or whatever, I kept waiting for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to hit the switch. Yeah. And here they are hovering right at 500, and it drives me absolutely crazy.
No, it doesn't look anything like what we have witnessed over the last 4 years with Todd Bowles. And Baker, who was coming off one of the great seasons in the history of this game, when he threw for over 40 touchdowns and 4,500 yards a year ago. And it was one big comeback after another. I mean, Baker's still getting some scrambles that are keeping some drives alive, but I thought the Panthers had a bunch of third down stops in the second half of that game to force them to punt the ball away where they couldn't really get into their playbook and get into the weapons that they have offensively. You saw some runs from Bucky. You saw Irving. You saw a big run from Rachaad White. You saw pieces. They just couldn't sustain it, Bucky. And credit because if you look at Carolina's defense, whether it's Roseboom or whether it's Mooring, or you go through the list of players on that Ashawn Robinson, like it looks a little bit like a expansion team, with the guys from other teams, but they've done a good job of molding those guys together.
Yeah, a bunch of cast-offs and misfits. It's disappointing, but we'll see, because for the Buccaneers, you just got to hope you can find a way to win out. You talk about the Carolina Panthers having a tough game coming up with Seattle, so it could open back up for them. Last game, we got to talk about the Buffalo Bills, the Cleveland Browns. Buffalo found a way to get it done with Josh Allen compromised with a little foot injury. They still find a way to knock off the Browns.
He threw it 19 times, Buck, and threw for 130 yards. So it was time for James Cook. Like, that offensive line is going to be a problem for anybody in the postseason. I mean, I think you can depend on James Cook right now. He's got over 1,500 yards just rushing this year, Buck. He has been the bell cow that they wanted. The offensive line, he just knows how to, continue to extend drives right there. And that defense in Cleveland is good. They're great. And to be able to pierce them for 117 yards like he did, getting the average that he did, being able to sustain drives against that defense, it was good. And then, the defense took the ball away from Shedeur, had the interception by Poyer and by Jones, which kind of slowed Cleveland down a little bit. It was a hard-fought game. Hard-fought. They knew it was going to be going into Cleveland. They're still playing hard for Jimmy Schwartz on that side of the ball, and they were able to eke out a win. But you look at, say, a guy like Gregory Rousseau yesterday. He had the 2.5 sacks, but he hit Shedeur 7 times in that game. Like, they roughed him up pretty good. And so I thought Buffalo's defense stepped up, in a game where they had to at some point.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for the Buffalo Bills in the tournament, because they arguably will have the best quarterback in the tournament, but this might be the weakest version of the Buffalo Bills that hits the postseason in the last 4 or 5 years in terms of they have James Cook. But Baldy, if we're being honest about the number of blue chippers that they have on the roster, they're not loaded with blue chip players.
No.
And so for them to win, they have to bring their A game each and every week because they can't just out talent the teams that are going to be in there. And if they want Josh Allen to get into the phone booth, he can, but they're going to need a healthy and spry and ready Josh Allen to be able to do that for a 3-game run in the postseason to get them to the Super Bowl.
Well, we know that they're going to be vulnerable to anybody that can run the ball really well. And so it's been a weakness. It's there. It wasn't, when Quinshawn went down yesterday, unfortunately, and really the tackle play that Cleveland has right now. I don't know what number offensive tackle they're on, but it's deep down the roster. I mean, they weren't good enough. But in the postseason, they're going to see some teams, that can run the football, whether it's Jacksonville, whether it's Denver right now, whether it's Houston and what they're doing right now with their rookie running back. I mean, it's just there's some guys there that some teams there that can pound the football pretty good.
Last thing, I got to get your overall take. I've been popping in and looking at Shedeur. What are you seeing from him? Because there's a lot of noise around how he's playing, but when you looked at him, where would you say he is as a normal rookie quarterback at this stage of his development?
I think that you got to be happy the way that he's, moving. Like him and Harold Fannin have a good relationship. It's just all rookies. The receiving core isn't very good, Bucky. Like Jerry Jeudy isn't very good right now, and LeVar Dane, and you go through the guys that they have. I mean, the quarterback is only going to be as good. Just think about Trevor and the difference with Parker Washington and Jacoby Myers and the addition that Jacoby Myers has been. And when they got Brent Strange back healthy, like he needs pieces around him. I think he sees the field well. I think he throws a deep ball well. I think he extends plays. He can, he ran yesterday a bunch of times for some first downs. I'm not disappointed in Shedeur. Now, if you don't think he's the answer, Cleveland's probably going to have a whole bunch of changes. They might get that opportunity right now. But I think these last 2 games are still really important for Shedeur just to keep playing. Just to think that a month ago, he hadn't even gotten a practice rep, in 3 months. And so it's on the job training right now. And so, but I don't think he's disappointing. Every time they try to put the microphone in front of him to disparage the coach, he never does it. He handles himself well because that's a big part of any quarterback, being able to handle the outside noise, the media, all that kind of stuff. He handles all that stuff, like he went to school for it.
Yeah, no, he's certainly done a good job when it comes to that. Growing pains, you look around the league, all these young quarterbacks are up and down. J.J. McCarthy can't finish games. You had Jackson Dart, who didn't have a great performance against the Minnesota Vikings. That's kind of part of what it is. And to be honest, Baldy, I looked at all these college football games, and we'll get to it on another episode, but man, I don't know if that answer at quarterback is coming in the 2026 class. I mean, people are going to talk about Fernando.
Let me ask you this, Bucky. If you threw, after what we've seen for the last month, if we threw Tyler Shuck into this draft,
I mean, he's going to be.
Forget about his age. I know his age works against him in some, but that guy can flat out play, Bucky.
He's going to be at the top.
Play.
He's going to be at the top of the. He's going to be at the top of the charts, and I think people have to that evaluation is that it's not just going to be 2026 class versus that, but it's what do these look like versus Jackson Dart versus Shedeur versus some of the young quarterbacks. Where would they slot up? And if we stack them all up, I don't know if guys in the 2026 class are going to be at the top of the list, just given what I've seen. Yeah.
But even like nobody wants to talk about, Cam, in Tennessee, but all he does, first of all, he's got all rookies around him. All right. Not a very good offensive line in certain spots, but he's going to take every snap for him this year. And all he does is just compete like hell. And he's looking like there's a guy that you can build with. And so all of a sudden, some guys that maybe weren't, I don't know, like if you put Cam back in or Cam Ward in this draft, he's the number 1 pick, I think, again. And Tyler Shuck might be right behind him right now.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's so fascinating. I can't wait for us to finish and go through the postseason. But, I love chatting draft stuff with you, especially when you look at these big guys, because watching that Miami-Texas game was a big, ugly game. I'm sure you're like a pig in slop watching those big guys play.
Well, Marinello right now is and then, what Alabama's going to have, with their left tackle.
Caden Proctor.
Caden. I mean, it's going to be one of those things where we're going to have to watch a lot in order to be able to separate this tackle class, because I think there's going to be a lot of guys at the very top of the draft, and everybody's going to be looking for that guy.
Yeah. Well, look, man, this is always fun. I love our Baldy's breakdowns on Monday. Thanks for coming on, Baldy.
Yeah.
Till next week.
You got it, Bucky.
I'll see you.
Let's do it. All right, buddy. Merry Christmas to you, Bucky.
You too, man.
All right, buddy. Got it.